Great. Well, welcome everyone to the bi-weekly ZKsync proposal review call. Not only are there some exciting proposal updates to share today, there are also a number of ecosystem and resource announcements that we're excited to share with you folks. We also have Gabe from MetaLex joining us today to give a little bit of a presentation on, or an overview of how MetaLex is being used to manage ZKsync Guardian compensation. Before I kick us off with the proposal updates, are there any other topics that you guys wanted to maybe add to the call agenda today? It also doesn't have to be proposal or even ZKsync related. Okay, great. If anything comes up, feel free to drop it in the chat as we're talking too. We can add it to the list of things to chat about at the end. Great. Okay. So first up, I will start off just with a few updates on proposal execution. So there were 3 proposals that have been executed since the last call. The first 2 being both the 2 zips, so zip 12, which is the V29 interop messaging upgrade, and zip 13, which is adding the ZKsync OS CTM. Both having passed Security Council review, both were executed on L1 late last week. You can find the links to L1 execution in each of the corresponding threads on the forum. And I'll actually also just drop them here quickly if you folks want to go check those out now. Yeah, so you can go check those out there. For TPP10, the ZKsync Providium Roadshow was another one that was executed since the last call. It was executed early last week, and the program is now considered live. Any questions from anybody in regards to the 3 executed proposals?
If there aren't any questions, I'll maybe just give a zip update.
Yes, please.
Cool. So I guess I just want to communicate that the Security Council signed the upgrades related to zip 12 and 13 within 2 hours of them hitting the risk review period. And so all of the information about the upgrades was shared in the week, basically like in the voting period week, so that the Security Council kind of got a jump on reviewing and things like that. And then they were very aware that as soon as it hit the risk review period, which fell on a Friday, that they needed to sign and got that done really quickly so that MetaLex was in a position to kind of start executing things over the weekend, and then move on as quickly as possible. So I thought that was a really kind of solid win for the Security Council. And then the other thing, which hasn't been announced yet, so I guess like just alpha for being on the call, is that the V29 upgrade was executed on error today. There hasn't been any public comms about it. That's coming, and once, I guess, maybe they're waiting to sleep on it for a night, make sure everything is working, and then there'll be kind of tweets about it. But yeah, that happened today, so that's really great. And then we can expect that V29 would be rolled out to other ZK chains in the coming weeks. Yeah, okay, that's it. Thank you.
Really cool, really exciting. Awesome. Thanks for adding that, Alicia. Any other questions before we move on? Wonderful. Great. Okay, so next up we have 2 active proposals, 2 active TPPs that are live for voting on chain right now. The first one is TPP 11. The ZKsync governance system infrastructure funding proposal. This proposal will fund maintenance and development for all essential governance infrastructure through 2026. And and the second one is the the TPP12 ZKnomics token staking proposal. Which will deploy a 6-month pilot staking rewards program using a Tally staking contract. Does anybody have any questions in regards to the 2 live proposals right now? Yeah, Catherine. I don't know if that was on purpose
hello.
or.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. So first off, we want to thank you, Clifton, and the team for this great initiative, and we want to express our support for this proposal. And so first off, we agree that starting with season one with a simple on-chain metric of 2 out of 5 votes is a secure way to get this pilot off the ground. But our main feedback is really about looking ahead to season two, making sure that this program hits its biggest goal of doubling the active voting power. So the data from SeedGov shows that our AVP is not really low, averaging at around 850 million voting power from 1.1 billion. But it also shows that this is going at a downwards trend. So our main concern is the two is the 2 out of 5 votes bar actually high enough? So the 40% participation rate might not be high enough to guarantee that this translates into a higher voting power casted on each vote, in each casted higher, sorry, into a higher voting power casted on each proposal. So we want to avoid the scenario where we reward existing low participation by not achieving our goal of doubling active participation. Basically, we don't want to spend treasury funds just to reward low activity that we already have. So we want to be able to fix this problem. So for season two, we believe that we should raise the bar, evolving the definition of active delegate to reward high quality, consistent contributions that align with the ZK credo, and not only just the minimum vote count. So to make this happen, I think we need to start researching and discussing a better framework for season two. Maybe we can start by discussing beyond voting. What contributions do we really value, like research, feedback, technical reviews, or ecosystem growth? Or how can we design a fair and objective system to measure this quality? And uh, we're really excited, and we want to help in this. So actually, to get the ball rolling, we want to start reaching out to other delegates and stakeholders to gather inputs on this topic. So this way we can work together and create a better definition of an active delegate and make sure for future seasons that we actually increase active and informed voting power.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Catherine, for sharing
Let
that.
me-
And yeah, also just a call out quick to Cliff from the Tally team is on the call today as well. So
Well,
great.
let me take this one for a second. Just one moment, Cliff. I just want to interject. So, Catherine, that's really good. That's really good feedback. One of the things that I would just like mention is that the eligibility criteria that is currently there is definitely a starting point, and the evolution of that eligibility criteria really needs to I like to think about it as we need to know what the reality of the situation is, but you want to start with a very tangible reality, right? Like, so the active voters for season one is where we want to like actually see, like, does this actually work? We might actually find out that people self-delegate to themselves and actually don't delegate to other people because I don't know, like they believe that if they vote they can have 100% certainty to get staking rewards, versus if they delegate they're taking on some risk that that delegate maybe doesn't necessarily vote. So I think that one of the things that I'll mention, because I spoke to the Tally team about this quite a bit, was the I don't like the I wanted the Tally team, because we spoke about a couple of different eligibility, and I was like, look, like, don't overcomplicate this right now. As you said, Catherine, we want data to inform the right eligibility criteria in the future. And there are different versions of the world where active delegation is not even eligibility criteria, and maybe it has to do with, I don't know, like you have to hold the ZK token for at least 30 days or 60 days. Like, I mean, I don't know. I'm just pointing this out that the eligibility criteria is kind of arbitrary, but I do think that the like it's a good place to start with the active delegates. It's an interesting incentive game. And two, depending on how that data turns out, I think we'll be able to make much better informed decisions. But definitely agree that we shouldn't stop there, and we should really figure out what works best for the program.
Yeah, thanks, Rafa. Just wanted to kind of like reinforce what Rafa mentioned. So the criteria put here is really simple because this is ultimately a pilot, and we really want data to come in to inform what a refined criteria would actually look like for future seasons. So nothing's kind of like set in stone, and our methodology, our hypothesis is to kind of like keep it simple for season 1, and then reiterate along the way with feedback from the community just to inform what actually makes sense to evaluate who should be, taking in rewards, and at the same time, like testing the hypothesis whether token holders will actually self-delegate to themselves, right? So these will all be interesting data points to kind of look out for post season 1, and we're excited to kind of like work with the community to refine the criteria moving forward in future seasons.
Okay. Thank you for those feedback. And I'm sorry.
No, go
Yeah,
ahead.
we 100% agree with those. And the parameters for season 1 is a great start. So we 100% agree with those comments.
Awesome. Thank you, Catherine, for sharing that. I actually had a question for the delegates on the call. I know quite a few of you have participated in other staking programs in other ecosystems, and I was curious, and Cliff, I think this would be interesting as well to discuss with you here. Are there any metrics that you found helpful or useful in those staking programs that you participated in as you participated or kind of tracked the program over time? I know the Tally team we're kind of thinking about how, like for season 1, what metrics might be useful or helpful to include for the analytics of season 1. So I'd be curious to hear if anybody had any ideas or comments from their experience participating in other staking.
Well, I haven't really participated in any, but I've observed some of the dialogue among them, and I know that, like, I think Arbitrum, if I recall correctly, like wound down its program or like changed it dramatically because just participation just tends to lead to people just doing random stuff, posting AI stuff on the forum to get credit for that, just useless stuff. So personally, what I've always thought, and like there's a lot of ecosystem right now. Futurarchy is very hot. Obviously, like switching to a Futurarchy system would be a huge burden, but the idea of a Futurarchy system is good and could be used, which is to reward people for voting for the correct outcomes, right? As opposed to just for activity, right? And the way I think you probably could design like a combination of like an algorithm plus like a discretionary rating thing that does that, like something like the way Twitter community notes works, where like if you have like uncorrelated, people who are uncorrelated voting the same way, is seen as a potential badge of quality. You could that's algorithmic, or just like an assessment. I mean, this means delaying the rewards, but an assessment, 3 months out or something of, and obviously it's going to be subjective, but there, some committee could do this, the Guardians could do this, someone could do it, of like assessing what proposals actually were successful and rewarding the people who voted, in favor of those. To me, that's, I don't like the idea of participation trophies, and it seems like in other ecosystems, people just game them like crazy, and it doesn't produce quality.
Quick question, Gabe. Great context. Question for those programs that you're referencing. It sounds like they were more focusing on like forum posts and like social media kind of posts, or what was, do you know the details of what they were?
I think they had like multi, I mean, double check me on all this, but I think there were a number of programs that had like they measure that you actually vote, and then they also like measure forum activity. They were kind of like multivariate assessments to decide what rewards people got, basically.
Got it. Rika, I saw you also had your hand up, and then Ivy, you as well, and Cliff. So many. Rika was first though.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to say I think we're kind of talking about two different things. They go hand in hand, but there's staking and then there's a delegate rewards. And as a delegate in Arbitrum never actually implemented staking. That said, they do have a delegate reward system that, yes, is being somewhat wound down, just in the sense that it's being minimized. But there's other ecosystems like Uniswap, which, for example, have a robust reward system, but there's not a huge complexity. So it's really, really simple, and the rewards are predictable and they are consistent. So I guess that's it's kind of a long way of saying that we're talking about two different things: staking and also delegate rewards. They can go hand in hand, but also they are two different things.
Yeah, that's a good point to highlight. Yeah, this one kind of, I can see how it kind of might get confusing with the crossover of staking rewards being eligible only to those delegating to active delegates. But yeah, also interesting to think about that concept though, maybe too, of how you could tie those together more closely, of how possibly there could be delegate rewards tied to a staking situation. But I want to get to the other folks who have their hands up. Ivy, you had your hand up.
I was about to say pretty much the same as Rika. What actually happened in Arbitrum was not that much of the requirements, but there wasn't consensus on the redelegation strategy. That is what happens when the delegate doesn't reach the participation criteria. What happens with that VP. Obo, for example, has a redelegation strategy, and in Arbitrum there wasn't consensus. Also, it included the launch of an LST, so that was just a whole another topic that delayed, I guess, the execution of this. But regarding Uniswap, for example, like Rika and Rafa were mentioning, now there's a requirement to hold a certain amount of Uni. So I guess requirements change within each protocol, right? It's up to us, I guess, to figure out what's the best way, of what we need to do. But yeah, just
yeah, that makes sense. I guess I just don't understand if you just want to have a purely economic mechanism where people stake and they get rewarded for staking, personally I think that should either be a lock or for some period of time, and it just shouldn't have anything to do with delegation. But yeah, I realize people do this thing. I think it's some sort of legal. I think some lawyer told them that they're only allowed to do economic rewards if they have a utility, and so they throw in the delegation thing, and it just ends up making these otherwise unrelated things related. But I don't think, for what it's worth, I don't think it makes any legal difference, but be a whole other discussion, I guess. But yeah. But I think, to me, what is interesting, if you want to get people to stake, you're giving them rewards. What are you rewarding them for, right? You may reward them for locking up the tokens because they're not going to be selling them, and that's good for the token price. Or you may be rewarding them for actual governance participation, in which case you want to reward it. My point would be you want to reward it for good governance, for effective governance participation. And this tally thing doesn't make any sense to me, to be honest, because it doesn't seem like it's rewarding either one of those. There's no lockup, and there's no, it's not truly tied to any sort of quality of governance participation. So I don't know. Personally, I just don't understand the entire concept of it, but yeah.
Pilot program. Testing things out with this, and it's also the purpose of this staking pilot program too is also to test out the infrastructure that will be necessary to support staking for ZKsync's future decentralized sequencer as well. But
yeah, just
Cliff, did you want to add?
Yeah, just one last point to Gabe's point, right? Like, I this is a pilot, and ultimately the whole concept behind this proposal is actually to test infrastructure. So we kind of designed staking contracts to be compatible with ZKsync decentralized sequencing if that kind of comes to pass, and we want to make sure that the infrastructure is going to be able to support ZKnomics. Sorry, I should be pronouncing this right. So this trial of rewarding governance is just step one, but the whole spirit of it is just making sure that the contracts actually work.
I think it's fair to say that staking does need to find a home with protocol security and utility, and if regardless of whether the pilot is successful, the timeline does need to line up there. I mean, at least my recommendation would be that if we don't see a successful transition to protocol utility, then I think we need to go back to the drawing board here, and probably put a pause on the work.
Yeah, great. And thanks everyone for chiming in here. Really, really great discussion. And I think we should maybe make some time for it on the next delegate call if folks are interested, and leave time and space for deeper discussion on that topic. Sounds like folks have a lot of experience and perspectives to share. So we can plan that into the next call too. Great. Okay. Any other comments or questions on staking? Okay.
Shelby, just one note on my side. Should we talk about MiCA now before Gabe's demo, or should we leave it to the end?
I wanted to just quickly ask if there were any questions on governance infra, because we kind of dove right into staking. So just wanted to give an opportunity there too before we move on. Okay. Great. Then I'm going to finish with the proposal updates, Rafa, and if you would like, we can do the MiCA announcement now.
Yeah.
So just one more update. So the last proposal update we have for you folks today is just a quick one in regards to the token burn function zip. It's been on the forum for a while now. This is still kind of paused until ZIP 12 and 13 implementations start rolling out for chains, as Alicia shared today, started rolling out for ERA, but they expect to have the call data hopefully ready by next week sometime. So just FYI, that one will likely be going on chain soon, either next week or shortly after. Any questions on this one for Scope Lift before it goes on chain? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
We like the burn. Burn, baby, burn.
Feel the burn.
It's coming. It's coming.
Great. Okay. Then we next up is ecosystem updates. And Rafa, if you wanted to start.
Do you wanna pull up the docs, the page? Oh my God, this is amazing. Okay, guys, I just want to say I'm so excited because doing legal stuff is hard in general. I mean, Gabe knows that it's hard. But also complying with the regulation is really hard because this is, institutions and enterprises that want to buy Providium are looking for basically enterprise-ready organizations and chains. In practice, this looks like a lot of paperwork that may not be stuff that you talk about that much on Twitter, but stuff like procurement offices, compliance offices, like look at in a level of detail. They look at the forum, they look at proposals, but they also look at stuff like this, which is the MiCA white paper. So the MiCA is like European regulation. And this white paper is basically a type of like overall memo on the ZKsync protocol and the ZK token and how it's classified under European regulation. This is really important for exchanges, and it's really important for any potential like investors that are thinking about holding ZK, and any type of institutions that are thinking about partnering with ZKsync, and then as a result of that, potentially using ZK as well. So this is a huge lift. A huge shout out to the engineering team at Matter Labs that really helped outline the technical spec. Anthony, Porter, Stephen, there are a bunch of people who input to this. And not only that, because we have the MiCA white paper, we are setting basically the standard for a lot of other ZKsync chains who may or may not have tokens in the future, to also be supporting and supportive of the European regulation, which again, all this ecosystem alignment really helps with the institutional sales and the success and growth of Providium. So we worked on this in partnership with EY Austria, which is where the legal entity of the Austrian Association sits, and with the regulators that are working on MiCA. So if you're interested, you can go to the docs, you can download it. It's a little bit dry, I would say, but the sections on the technical protocol are quite good. And this is public now. And yeah, everything is up to date. So I just wanted to share that.
Really exciting to have this. It was definitely a labor of love that Rafa was definitely very involved with. So hats off to everybody who was involved for getting this over the line. It is an exciting milestone and gives us at the ZKsync community and ecosystem a canonical document now to support.
Yeah.
Different.
One thing that I will say, sorry, Shelby, to interrupt. I forgot one thing. You know, as you guys are thinking about voting on the proposals, when you guys look at GovInfra, what it's doing is a lot of this infrastructure, including like the MiCA white paper and institutional enterprise readiness. This is just critical work. So if you guys have questions about the GovInfra proposal, a very important thing to think about is this is what builds the governance contracts. This is what builds the burn contract. This is what builds a potential, a type of protocol fee switch, legal research for all of this stuff, and also the entity management for future token programs. So yeah, just feel free to give me a shout if you have other questions about it. But really important in terms of growing Providium and enterprise readiness.
Great. Thanks, Rafa, for sharing. And I do second the technical overview section. I think it's H. Section H is very helpful. Very, very well done. Awesome. Okay, great. Then actually next up, I was going to invite Gabe to take the stage to give a little bit of an overview of how how MetaLex is using, or how the guardians are using MetaLex for their
yeah, sure. So I'll orientate it. I wasn't able to put together a live demo because I would have had to have like reset things up on the testnet, but I have a video, and yeah, I'll just kind of orient you guys. So basically, a subset of the guardians are entitled to be paid ZK on a vesting schedule for their guardian role, right? As you guys know, ZK isn't held in a treasury, right? It's actually minted, on sort of an as-needed basis, right? Through what we call these ZK capped minters, right? That is, it has a minting function and it's capped at some amount of ZK, right? So the idea was so basically the way it was set up is that the Guardian's multi-sig has a certain cap minter, right? And it then needed to subdivide those ZK that it could mint into individual vesting contracts for the different guardians, right? And there also had to be legal approvals as part of this flow, right? So one way you could do it, of course, is you could just, send around a bunch of DocuSigns, and then you could have the Guardian multi-sig sort of mint a bunch of ZK tokens to itself, and then you could authorize a bunch of, transactions once a month or whatever to send the right amounts to people, or to send the amounts manually to a vesting contract, and with the Guardian multi-sig having the ability to kill that and so on. But the challenge that we wanted to do is, can we automate all these flows as much as possible, right? So that it's fully non-custodial and programmatic, and the terms of the agreement are sort of embedded in the on-chain logic every step of the way, right? So that's essentially what we did. There was one DocuSign involved. But next time we'll take that out of the picture as well. But basically, the Guardian multisig authorized, basically delegated a vesting contract controller as its minting authority, right? And then we had, and I'll share my screen. And then we had, we basically ran the Guardian, each Guardian through a legal signing process on chain. So they're using their private key to sign. And, you know, as you can see here, there's an agreement on one side. And then on the other side, there's, you know, the name of the grantee, you know, their address. They were also able to set a different recipient address for the tokens if they wanted to have that be different from, you know, their signing address on the Guardians multisig, you know, what amount they're getting, the unlock rate of the amount, right? And the grantor name, which in this case is the ZK Guardians Borg, you know, and this sort of thing. So it's essentially a legal agreement signing process with your private key, okay? And hopefully you guys can see that there. There's these signature fields. And basically each Guardian had to be stepped through this. And what's basically happening is they sign with their wallet. And so that's signing the legal agreement. And it's also going to be triggering the controller that has delegated authority from the Guardians multisig to mint that number of ZK and have it subject to the vesting contract so that it's getting eked out to them over time, right? And this is kind of showing the curve of their unlock, right? And then they can go, and claim it, you know, with the little happy face that you'll see in a second, right? So you know, it's an automation to try to make the on-chain transactions match the legal agreements. And this is the vesting protocol that we have is very powerful. This is just sort of the most basic functionality, but you could imagine adding in also like a distinction between vesting and unlock, right? Like, okay, you're earning it at a certain rate, you know, monthly or whatever, but you got to hold it a little bit longer than that before you can sell it, right? Or an option functionality where they actually have to pay in a certain exercise price you know, to be able to claim those tokens. So we support a lot of different use cases within the MetaVest protocol itself. And the next thing that we're going to add is hopefully to get rid of DocuSigns completely is generalize that interface where you see an agreement on one side and sort of signature details on the other, so that the actual Guardian multisig can also sign like board consents in that same type of way, right? And then that way it's all going to be fully automated. You don't need any DocuSigns. You don't need anything extrinsic to the blockchain, and all this stuff is just very, very easily auditable and verifiable, you know, for anyone who tries to figure out what happened later.
I just need to call out just awesome stuff from the MetaLex team. Not just the integration from the legal and the on-chain distributions, the connection from the cap mentors to the legal piece, and becoming soon the connection of the multisig into legal documentation for board management. All of this basically sets additional primitives that we can use for new types of organizations. Imagine if you had an organization that controlled a specific revenue stream into the ZKsync treasury. And that organization now has on-chain board tracing contracts attached to it, You could have, for example, you could hire people of operations inside that Borg, and then you could have tied that to specific TPPs, for example, with a revenue target. So you could instantiate a Borg that says, hey, you're responsible for licensing this IP or this product as a SaaS form with a goal of a revenue objective of X amount by year 3. And if not, you get shut down, right? Like, this is the type of primitive that you know, you needed a lot of moving pieces to put this together. And MetaLex, you know, we're starting at one point where we have legal and on-chain vesting connected to cap minters, but this is basically the foundation to much more cool stuff.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Gabe, for joining and for
My
providing
pleasure.
that.
My pleasure, guys. Yeah. Hopefully, let's keep pushing the boundaries.
Yeah, great. Always great to see TPP builders come on and present and showcase how it's being used in token programs. Any questions for Gabe? Okay, very cool. Oh, Rika, yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Gabe. This is awesome. Thanks so much for presenting this. I'm not too familiar with these concepts, so sorry if this is kind of an elementary question. I'm wondering what, if any, is the connection point to real legal systems in the world, if that makes sense.
Connections to real world systems. Is that the question?
Yes. Yes.
I mean, there aren't really any. I would say just the document, you know, is stored on IPFS, right? So that can be downloaded like any document, right? But there hasn't been. Yeah, I mean, we could do probably fiat integrations and stuff like that because this stuff all leverages Safe, and Safe has a lot of those integrations, but there hasn't been a need for it so far. I'm not sure if that answers your question. I guess one other piece of it is that the way that we set up the Guardian's entity, right, is as what we call a Borg, right, which is a cybernetic org. So the Guardian bylaws reference the multisig. In a sense, the Guardian entity wraps that multisig. It's a Cayman Foundation, right? And so that provides a tie between when you do something on the multisig, it ties into these contract terms, and that has a legally binding effect in the real world. Does that make sense?
Maybe one way to visualize it as well, Gabe, is this correct that with a legal contract in the real world, say you're using DocuSign for signatures on a contract, that what this kind of product is with MetaLex is that you have like that standard traditional legal format, but then you layer on top of it the on-chain component as well. So Rika, I guess like from a visualization perspective, I imagine that it is aligned with anything that is required legally in the real world, and then you go a step further to make it kind of everything transparent and verifiable on chain as well. So it's not one or the other; it's like both.
Yeah, exactly. This way of signing documents is actually should in theory be stand up in court, for example, much better than normal DocuSign, because DocuSign is essentially you're using your email as your private key. In the ordinary version of it, they do have, by the way, a version where they actually assign private cryptographic keys to signers, but like you have to pay like a fortune for it, and we get that for free with MetaMask or any wallet, right? So it's kind of silly. So like, yeah, it's just like very, and of course, like, yeah, if you have a wallet that you use for your money, it's way more likely that you're not sharing that with anyone. So like that, it's way less likely that someone else is signing that. It's most likely to be you. And whereas to prove that with like an ordinary DocuSign, you literally would have to like subpoena DocuSign servers and get like login records and stuff to like try to prove that the actual person signed it. So yeah, I think it's pretty robust for what it's worth.
Awesome. Great. Rika, any reactions or follow-up questions?
No, just trying to process all of this.
it's
Not for
it's
sure right now, but I
I'm-
might have some later.
yeah, it's it's really cool mind bending stuff. This is like the really, really geeky, fun mind bending stuff
I will
to
maybe
sort of work on here.
before we move on, I feel like Gabe is a guardian for ZKsync, and I saw you run Linux, right? I feel like you're like the ultimate expression of a cypherpunk, Gabe. So
Gabe
it's
is
up to you, and I feel like yeah,
I
ZKsync
appreciate-
is
I
lucky to have you
appreciate
as a
that. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, great. Thank you so much, Gabe. Really appreciate you joining and presenting today. We'll move on to the last few updates here we have for today. And if there's any other questions or any other topics at the end, we can dive into those too. Next up, another fun little docs update we wanted to share with you folks. I had mentioned this on the last call, but that is something that we've been working on for a while, and it is now live. The Minter mod overview page. This page contains just like a breakdown of what Minter mods are, a description of all of the current Minter mods that are in the toolkit, including all relevant links, contract links, factory links, all that fun stuff, and also instructions on how to build your own Minter mod. The governance team would like to give a huge shout out to Alex Keating from Scopelift and Matt and Nick from Factory Labs, the Factory Labs team, for all of their work driving forward Minter mod development. And
Offbeat for the audience.
and Offbeat Labs as well. They definitely like put a lot of elbow grease into getting these live, and it's really exciting to see them live. We've already seen the use of the rate limiter mod, for example, in a few proposals already, including Permissionless Prize, staking, the Gov Infra bill, and we're really excited to see how others start experimenting with Minter mods and how they start to experiment with the token mechanic design for future token program proposals as well. If you folks have an idea for a Minter mod or would like to learn more about the Minter mods and how they work or how they connect with cat mentors, all that good stuff, please feel free to reach out to Rafa or I. We'd be happy to sit down with you and have a chat and go over any questions you may have here. Question for all of you guys actually is, once you have a chance to review this or even just looking at this now, I would be really curious to know if there's anything else missing, any resources or information, or maybe just like examples that would be helpful for you guys to be able to, understand or start using cat mentors or mentor mods in general. We'd love to hear feedback there. Was pondering an idea the other day of possibly, maybe we do like a little online workshop, or maybe we could run like a little competition or like a little mini like online hackathon for like token mechanic design, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I would be curious to hear your guys' feedback or input if you guys have any cool ideas there as well. But it needs to be based on what you guys feel is missing. Rafa and I are so deep in the weeds. We don't have that visibility at this point anymore. So please let us know. Okay, great. The next quick little update I wanted to share today, we shared it in a message in the delegate Telegram group the other day, but I just wanted to call out on the forum for all three of the active token programs right now. So the Community Activation Program, Providium Roadshow, and Providium Prize Program, they all have their own sections on the forum. You may remember this format from Ignite. Ignite also had their own section on the forum. Same setup here for the new active programs. This is where the program administrator will share any resources or all resources, announcements, updates, reports, all of that good stuff. And it's also a place for folks to go ask questions in regards to each individual program. So just wanted to call that out or show you guys that that's there, just under if from like the homepage, just under the token mechanics section here. They're all there. Great. And then the last thing I had on the agenda was a question, because I'm curious, is anybody hosting any events to be aware of for Devconnect? Might be a cool opportunity to share here, and so that we all can go attend and support each other in any events that we're planning on.
Gorbajana rave. You guys are invited.
What? Gabe, share the link, please, now.
Although we
sounds
should have the Luma up later today, but you know, yeah, join the. For those who don't know, Gorbajana is a parody fork of Solana, devoted to the themes of trash and garbage. Yeah, we'll be having a party.
What's the dress code?
You know, try to find an Oscar the Grouch costume.
That's hilarious. We love a little meme rave at any crypto event. That sounds like a lot of fun. But yeah, if you have the link, please feel free to share it. Also, maybe if other people have links too, maybe we just start like a thread on the forum if people would be down to share. It's so that way people are just aware and we can, yeah, I'll go support each other. Cool. I know SeedGov, you have a million things going on, so maybe it would be easier just to start a thread.
Yeah, we have, like the main one is the Gov Day. I guess you might have heard of this. It's a 2-day event regarding governance, all things governance. Day one, it's kind of more general public, I guess, and the second one is super focused on research, so more university stuff, I guess. So yeah, everyone's invited. It's going to be awesome. So yeah.
Really cool. That would be fun. I'm joining. I'll be there. I'm really excited. Yeah, and then we don't have a delegate meetup planned for this time because I'm flying solo. But I'll also be doing the GovGeeks Community Hub again at the main Devconnect venue. And yeah, I can also share some more details and links there. But I'll do that. I'll start a little thread on the forum so folks can share their links there too, so it's easier to find and keep track of. Great. Okay. Anything else? Any other comments, thoughts to share before we close it out this week? Okay, great. Just before we close it out, quick summary of actions that were mentioned on the call. So please go vote on TPP 11 and 12 if you have not already. Voting just opened today, and we already have a few folks voting there. Please go check out the ZK token white paper, as well as the Mintermod page, and let us know if you have any feedback or have any questions on any of those items. And yeah, once I get I'll create like a thread and I'll include it in the call summary and notes and stuff like that, so people will know where to find it. Great. Okay. Thank you everyone for joining today. We'll have the call notes and recording posted by tomorrow end of day. Hope everybody has a great rest of their week.